Also new tonight here on The Current, we are talking about some birds. Last year, Iowa's pheasant population reached a 20-year high, and now the state's DNR is getting ready to conduct its annual roadside survey in a few weeks. But they say this year looks like it will be another successful one for Iowa's pheasants. Joining us once again is Todd Bogenschutz, upland wildlife research biologist with the Iowa DNR. Todd, it is so great to see you back here with us again. Can we start with last year? When we talk about having a banner year in 2025, what kind of numbers were we seeing?
Well, we're expecting our harvest to probably be the best that we've seen in 20 years. I don't have the numbers yet. We've kind of changed the survey, but that's kind of what we heard from hunters last fall.
What about the numbers that you guys all collected from the roadside survey counts last year in Iowa? What kind of pheasant population nesting success numbers were you seeing?
Well, last year we saw about an average of 28 birds on our 30-mile routes, which is a really good number because the year before it didn't even make 20. So up 50%. And we heard from hunters that it was a pretty good fall. Numbers are regional, some areas better than others, but overall across the state, very good numbers. The only state that can beat us in harvest is South Dakota.
So how do you expect this year's numbers to compare?
So we've been counting birds for about half a century now. We kind of correlate that with the weather. It lets me make a pretty good prediction. And looking at this year's weather compared to last year, it's saying, expect about the same. So given the counts we had last year, that's a good, I guess, prediction for this fall.
Okay, you mentioned weather right there. Is this the main cause for the recent boom in pheasant populations? What kind of weather are we talking about?
Well, for our pheasants, what we found through time is if you have a mild winter and April and May are warm and dry, we almost always see them go up. And so that's what we saw last year. This year it didn't look quite as good. The winter was okay. It was very warm spring, but it was rainy. So I thought, oh no, our counts are going to go down. But it seems like it was warm enough. Our weather model's saying, yeah, it should wash out.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that roller coaster. We had a really dry winter, a really wet spring, a really hot few weeks. What's kind of the golden zone when you start to see some of this extreme weather come in where you're thinking, oh, this is going to impact chicks and hens versus maybe something last week wouldn't impact them as much? How does that work?
So it definitely depends on when we get our weather events. It seems like for pheasants, at least nesting season, April and May seem to be the big months. So April was warm, but it was 71% wetter than normal. But May was also warm, but it was 27% below normal for rainfall. So, I look at them together because pheasants are nesting through those months. So, it came out a little bit higher, which that's what kind of caused me a little bit of concern. But then the temperatures were so warm that, we did the math with the model. It's like, yeah, but it was really warm out, so they're probably okay.
Well, you're mentioning the models here, and I'm glad you are because these are all estimates until we get to that roadside survey that starts up in just a few weeks coming up in August. And that'll give you the real concrete data. How does this survey work?
So basically, statewide, we have two routes in every county, and they're 30 miles long on gravel roads. And so we run the same routes every year at the same time of the year under the same weather conditions. So it gives us a really good index. I mean, obviously, we can't count all the pheasants in the state. It's not possible, but we can use this index, and it really relates well to what hunters harvest that fall. So everybody's excited about that. We're about to kick it off. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing if the weather model was right. Our number's going to be very similar to last year. They could go up, they could go down. The model is just a prediction. It's our best educated guess. So, yeah, looking forward to the roadside counts.
And obviously this is important for hunters and for the DNR to know what's living out there in Iowa. But, for the rest of us, why are these roadside counts so important? Why put all of this time and effort into it?
Well, I mean, it is big business in Iowa. We are one of the top pheasant states in the country. Us and South Dakota are always kind of listed as number one and number two. So big economic impact in Iowa with all the hunters that go out and pursue. And then, of course, we have a lot of out-of-state folks that come in, which really helps our rural communities, with extra income, especially during the fall. And obviously it's a large tradition in Iowa. So definitely something we want to track and keep a tab on what's going on.
Well, Todd, in the few seconds we have left, is there anything that we can all do at our own homes to help out our local pheasant populations?
Probably one of the best things if you're not a member of like Pheasants Forever or a group like that, that NGO that kind of helps and promotes pheasant habitat and good pheasant hunting. That's what I would say would be number one.
Well, Todd, it's been a pleasure talking to you over the last 6 years. You were telling me in commercial break you are retiring in a few months, so congrats. Best of luck on this roadside survey in August, and then enjoy your retirement.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Shelby.
Hey, if you guys at home want to share this story or find our online version, you can head over to WQAD.com and click on the As Seen on TV tab at the top of the homepage.